Hi, and welcome to Epiphanies. I'm the Reverend Jessie and I'm a life cycle celebrant as well as a metaphysical minister. And I have the opportunity to bring together my two loves, books and people. And so today I have with me as a guest, she'll be joining me shortly, Jen CB of Believe in Your Dream. And she is a life coach and speaker, and she speaks about mental health and grief awareness. So you can get her to speak on those topics, and she's utterly fabulous. Now she's going to join us in a minute. First I want to talk to you about the book that changed her life. It's called You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Making Your Mind Matter. And I'm going to read you just a little bit about it. What I think that this will be self-explanatory. And it says, the incredible results I've seen in the advanced workshops I offer and all the scientific data that has come out of that have led me to the idea of the placebo. How people can take a sugar pill or get a saline injection, and then their belief in something outside of themselves makes them get better. I began to ask myself, what if people begin to believe in themselves instead of in something outside of themselves? What if they believe that they can change something inside of them and move themselves to the same state of being as someone who's taking a placebo? Isn't that what our workshop participants have been doing in order to get better? Do people really need to take a pill or an injection to change their state of being? Can we teach people to accomplish the same thing by teaching them how the placebo really works? Well, Jen's here to tell you how it worked for her. Great. So, Jen, come on in.
Hello, my dear.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Please sit down.
Thank you.
Settle
Thank you
in.
for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm
This
so
is
glad.
wonderful.
Great. Good. So, yeah, I poured you a cup of tea already.
Wonderful.
So, hope you like my choice.
Love it. I do. I see it's chai tea. I absolutely love it.
Good. Okay, great. So, let me tell you about Jen. Jen CB, her company is Believe in Your Dream, and she's a life coach and speaker. Mm-hmm. And she gives motivational speeches to young athletes, and she paints, fabulous. And she donates in various charity events. We're going to talk about that in a little while.
Yeah.
She is a volunteer in our community, so that's awesome. So Jen, I want to ask you, why this particular book?
How long do we have? Let me just say that. I don't think a half-hour show is going to be enough for this book. This book is essentially, you know, when you find a book and it makes it for a pivotal point in your life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, when you put down the book, you can't read fast enough, right? This book in my life was at a point that was pivotal in terms of elevating that mind, body, and spirit connection.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit more about that. What exactly was it that spoke to you in the book?
So the book itself, I'll share with you a little bit of the story behind it and why I chose this book at this point in my life.
Okay.
I was on an athletic journey. Yes, enjoy. Pour yourself a cup of tea on this story. I was on an athletic journey, and I had received the invite to try out for Team Canada.
Really?
10 years, like in my 30s. So I'm competing against kids now, 10 years my junior.
Yeah.
And gave up my full-time position as a teacher. I decided to put everything into working out and training hard as a full-time athlete. So then I got to the tryouts, and it was a 4-day camp. And nobody knows who I am. You know, I walk in, and all the young kids, you know, they're fresh out of university, and who's this person in her 30s trying out? And I walk in and was able to compete with them and complete the physical fitness testing with them, and it was wonderful. And I get to the first pitch. I hyperextend my knee.
No.
And I blow my knee out on the first pitch of the tryouts.
Wow, yeah, I remember when you were telling me about this. How
What do you
incredible.
do? What do you do?
I mean, I guess it's literally game over.
Game over or game on, right?
Okay.
So I finished the tryouts and I didn't make the team, and I mean there was no hard feelings. They chose a wonderful team to go on to win Pan Am gold in Toronto a couple of years ago. But I came home and now I have a busted knee, and what do I do with my life? So my coach, my athletic trainer, actually gave me this book, You Are the Placebo, and she said, Jen, you need to go read this. You need to go read it, check it out.
Okay.
And You Are the Placebo is about the concept of healing from the inside out.
Which we know is possible.
It is possible, but it was a wonderful reminder at this point, because I was working so hard on the physical plane, so hard on the mental plane, I wasn't really working on the spiritual plane.
Okay.
And so after reading this book, I'm thinking, I really need to tap into all three components. And I started to meditate, and I was bringing in the energy level from your subconscious mind to the knee itself on a daily meditation experience.
Okay.
In conjunction with going to physical therapy, and also training again and rehabilitating that way. But bringing in all three components, I'm now back to 100% 4 weeks later. 4 weeks after I blow out my knee. I could barely walk from the ballpark to the parking lot, and 4 weeks later, I'm back now pitching at 65 miles an hour.
Wow, that's incredible.
The national team requirement.
That's super.
So does life stop there? No.
Do tell.
Do tell. And so applying these concepts of, wow, this is from the inside out. This is from your mental power, your physical power, your spiritual power. Anything is possible in life. And
Because, sorry, I was just going to say,
That's
because
okay.
of course the brain is the neuroplasticity, which means we can change the way we're thinking, the way our brain is acting, everything. So,
Exactly. And then 3 months later, I received the invite to go over and play semi-professional softball in Europe. And that's where the journey begins.
cool. That's so cool. So tell me a little bit about that Europe experience.
About the softball experience in Europe? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And in this book, you know, they talk about the mind and the concept of the mind, the subconscious part of the mind, and understanding where your path leads you. And yes, Team Canada would have been a wonderful pathway. But what I loved about playing in Europe, I was able to compete at the European level, at the international level, but also coach and give back to the community.
Oh, that's super.
And so it was that mind, body, spirit relation, you know, that concept of love at the heart center.
Yeah.
That really made that experience unbelievable. All stemming from this book.
Well, now, was there something in the book in particular that you wanted to share with us?
Let me pull that out.
Now, just while you're doing that, have you recommended or given this book to anyone else?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I remember, you know, when you posted, you know, I just met Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I was online saying, have you read this book? Have you read this book? Because I get so excited. My personal trainer has also read it, and so many other people I know that have definitely read it, that has helped them on their spiritual journeys as well. And what I love about this book is because it is science-based. He talks about the atoms, he talks about the particles, and you're bringing in that concept of science to heal from the inside out, creating those waves, you know, to change your beliefs.
Because we don't want to give the impression that it's just airy-fairy, or if you wish it, you make it so. Like, this is fact-based by a doctor, and you've proven it.
Yes, and scientific data, where these stories in this book, they're quadriplegics, they're cancer patients, healing, you know, from vast stories that are far greater than mine. And I thought, you know what, if these people can do it, I can do it. Let's apply it to the athletic realm, and let's see what we can really make of it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's amazing, these mental visualizations. So here it is. It's on page 188. That this really got me, changed my way of thinking. So the physical universe may look as if it's made up of only material matter, but in truth, it shares a field of information, the quantum field, that unifies matter and energy so intimately that it's impossible to consider them as separate entities. That's because all particles are connected in an immaterial, invisible field of information beyond space and time. And that field is made up of consciousness, thought, and energy, frequency, the speed at which things vibrate. Because each atom has its own specific field of energy or energy signature, when atoms assemble collectively to form molecules, they share their fields of information and then radiate their own unique combined energy patterns. If everything material in the universe radiates a specific unique energy signature, because everything is made up of atoms, then you and I radiate our own specific energy signatures as well. You and I are always broadcasting information as electromagnetic energy based on our states of being.
That's incredible. So boil that right down for me. What do you want our listeners to take away from that?
I think it resonates where if you really think hard and love within yourself and drop down into your heart center, everything becomes magic. Everything is energy, and we are all connected as energy. As sitting there, I don't like to say energy, I call it Genergy, right? And the Genergy is back.
Yeah, yay. I've
when
missed her.
and when you have that, we're all connected as spiritual beings, as physical beings, as mental beings. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
We are creators of our own universe, of our own life. Okay. And we can make anything magical. And life itself can become magical then. You can find the magic in everyday life, you know, in the magic of this warm cup of tea, which I absolutely love.
Well, that is incredible, and I'm going to have to stop you right there for just a moment. We're going to take a quick break, but don't go away, come on back, and we've got so much more to talk about. Thanks. Welcome back. You're watching Epiphanies, and I'm here with Jen CB, and we've been talking about the book, You Are the Placebo, and that's about changing your physical body and others with your thoughts and your beliefs. So Jen, I'm actually going to give you a little bit more opportunity to talk about the book, and then I want to talk about you.
Sure.
All right. So
sounds good.
Is there anything else that you want the community to take away from this?
I think it is good to point out that You Are the Placebo definitely comes from a science based.
Yeah.
What I love, I am not a science person whatsoever, just past grade 10 science back in the day.
I could barely read the books.
There are, if I can show you, there are pictures, there are diagrams here in this book. You know, some of them are color coordinated, makes it a little bit easier. And that's the thing is, there is a lot of science in it, but it does make it pretty easy to read with the pictures and the diagrams, etc. And I think it's good for anybody to read it.
Yeah.
It is, I want to say, it is a slower read. There are reads where you can just pick it up and read it, in a day or two, and great. This one, it took me a couple of weeks because I really wanted to read this book, a couple of pages at a time and let it sink in, right? You put it down, you walk away, you do your workout or you meditate, etc.
Yeah.
And then you come back to it. And also in the third part of the book, he teaches you also how to meditate.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Which is wonderful. Now, some people like that. Some people like to discover their own meditation, on their own, etc. And it does come with a CD too.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
there is a how-to. I think you can download it like off of iTunes or something.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and it was very interesting to understand just that approach on the concept of meditation. So his meditation was really helpful for me to activate the mind and healing mechanism of that mind to muscle power. I do use it from time to time for that, but I also use other meditations, when I'm doing my other meditations for other components in life.
Okay. Well, that's great. So then what I want to know about you is, let me see.
We don't have enough time for that.
Yeah, I know. I want to know who inspires you on a daily basis.
Who inspires me on a daily basis? Wow, good question.
Can be anybody. Live, dead, famous, not famous, somebody important to you.
Right now, I'd have to say first and foremost, it's my husband.
Yeah. So,
And I have to, he inspires me. He teaches me so much on a daily basis. In life, he was able to do that, and now in his passing, he's able to continue to teach me and to help me along my path. So he's my biggest inspiration.
Yeah. So I'm just going to share with our audience a little bit about that.
Of course.
Jen's husband was talking to her one morning, and he said he wasn't well, and within a matter of minutes he had a stroke, and he was rushed to the hospital and then flown to Sunnybrook, and it turned out that he had several strokes, and he was then on life support, and you had to make just that horrible decision what to do next. And of course you'd been told that he was gone, and that it was just the machine. So at that point you made the decision to let him go. And
yes.
And I love what you said about that. That's to do with how much you love somebody when you can let them go.
The greatest lesson in life is to learn how to let somebody go when it's better for their path. And Derek was my biggest supporter in life, and he still has continued to be my biggest supporter in his passing, and to show me that concept of divine love. And I just reread a portion of this book in the last couple of weeks, and I've talked lately about just riding the wave of grief awareness, right, and to teach people in the community about grief awareness lately. And even in this book, I go back and they talk about the waves, the energetic waves that we have. And I thought, oh my goodness, this book is one of the reasons why it's my favorite, because you can go back to it and realize there are more components of this book that you might have thought you picked up before, but as life unfolds, there's greater depths to the energetic. And the energetic waves, yes, are the physical, but they're also on the metaphysical realms too.
Absolutely.
And so I do feel him connected to me. He's showing me about, the energy from the other side as well.
Yeah.
It's pure love. Pure love.
That's so awesome. And so this has led you into, what are you studying right now that you keep going up north for?
It's led me to shamanic studies and the concept of the circle, right? And the teachings based on the circle, right? And to grow and to share that love from that heart center. And when you bring that in, when you bring in the concept of divine love, from the other realms, and to bring that into circle teachings, etc., you're creating those energetic waves which come right back to this book, right? And the science part of it, where everybody on the circle can benefit from it.
And I love what you're writing a book now, aren't
I
you?
am.
And what is it called?
Divine Love, The Young Widow's Journey from Grief to Grace.
And I just think that is so amazing because
Thank you.
in literally less than half a year, you knew that that was your journey, that you know, it wasn't just a matter of grieving, it was how we're going to get to the other side and how you're going to do that, how are you going to carry yourself. And that's just been a beautiful thing for, you know, your friends to see because
thank you.
yeah, it's been really cool. So I want to ask you some more questions.
Sure.
No, let's do something fun. What's your favorite music?
My favorite music? Right now it's more of the indigenous shaman style music. Jana is one of my favorites, and she's a beautiful, beautiful singer from the States.
Oh yeah.
And she sings a variation of different songs in different indigenous languages and stuff. So it's very good.
Well, let me just share with you, we're all doing a sweat lodge on Friday night.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know, but we have a Juno Award winning singer, native singer, coming to the sweat lodge, bringing her drums and everything like that. So it's really going to be a cool experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you're the only one that knows though, so don't tell anybody else.
Okay, I'll keep it to myself.
Okay.
Okay, I'll keep it to myself. I was
Right.
actually going to bring my drum too and join in on the chanting and stuff.
Awesome.
So-
Okay, well that's going to be quite the experience for us. But sorry, you won't be there, so we'll stop talking about that. What makes you want to do better in life?
I've always had this inner drive. And I think it's more of my athletic, competitive Jen coming out.
Yeah.
And it's and as a pitcher, when you're training to become a pitcher, it's always based on wanting to do better. This present moment is never good enough. And so yes, it's from the athletic perspective.
Yeah.
You're constantly working on that perfect pitch. And that's virtually impossible to do. But because of that love that you have for the game and a love for the game that's greater than life itself, that's where my inner competitiveness to continue on and to grow and expand and create. We are human, you know, creators. I just posted that today. We are creators. We can expand out just like the universe is expanding out.
And that's so awesome because that is your life's work, is to help people to grow and create and become more than they presently are, if that's their desire. And that just, I love your Genergy, and I'm so glad that that you have found your way into the shamanic work, because I know that the indigenous people are a real passion for you, and so that's just wonderful. I do want to say to you that I would like you to contact me via email, and that's Jessie at jessiebrandon.ca. If you have any questions about the book or about Jen or any ideas that we've talked about here in the show, and I'll talk about them in a future show. So that means I'd like you to come on back. What motivates your creative process?
What motivates my creative process?
So for instance, I've seen your painting. You did that 3-panel painting for someone. And what motivated you, besides him asking for it and telling you about what he wanted to see? How did you bring that to fruition?
I think it's tapping into the heart center.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
tapping into the heart center and trusting and having faith in the things that are unseen, really, and letting the paint just intuitively, letting the paint just create for itself. And it is, and it seems to become a pattern of mine. As I'm speaking of this now, it's about trusting in the art of the darkness.
Okay, explain the art of the darkness to me.
The art of the darkness is what I first discovered in the first couple of months of my grief journey. And with that, it felt like muck. It felt like as if you're walking through quicksand. You know, basic day-to-day life, it just became a fog, and colors were dull, you know. And I call it the darkness. But even in the darkness, when you stop and when you trust and have that faith and believe in that faith and the things that you cannot see, that's when grace will come and find you.
Yeah.
And that's where I get my inspiration from.
This is my last question for you. What do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy.
What do you want to leave behind when you leave this world? Is there some message that you would like to have people know?
Love. Divine love. And know that you can have divine love here on this plane. You're not alone. If you feel like you're alone, you're not alone. There's, some of the greatest magic and mysteries of life are the things that we cannot see on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very important for me to teach people about that. And as I walk this path of grief alone, I know that at the end of the day, I'm really not alone.
No.
That He's there.
Yeah, and that we none of us are alone, and we always have not only help that we can get from, a little help from my friends, but a divine love that we can call upon at any time.
Of course.
And yeah, I just want to thank you for coming. I'm so glad you were able to make time in your busy schedule for us. And I thank you for watching Epiphanies, and I invite you to join us again next week. Thank you so much.